Most people have a retirement plan. It goes something like this. Work hard, save what you can, hope things work out. Retire somewhere around 65. Enjoy the years you have left. It is a reasonable plan. It is also, for a growing number of people, a plan that will never happen. Not because they didn't work hard enough, not because they weren't smart enough, but because the gap between what they believe their financial future looks like and what it actually looks like is wider than most people are willing to face. And by the time that gap becomes impossible to ignore, it is too late to close it. Here is the uncomfortable truth that most people never hear until they are standing right at the edge of it. For a significant and growing portion of the workforce, retirement is not a destination they will ever reach. Not at 65, not at 70, not at all. They will work as long as their body allows, and when their body no longer allows it, they will depend on whatever is left, Social Security, family, savings that run out far too quickly, and call that retirement. This is not a prediction about someone else's future. For many people watching this right now, this is the trajectory they are already on. And the only thing that changes that trajectory is understanding exactly why it happens and making different decisions while there is still time to make them. Let me tell you about two men who grew up on the same street. We'll call them George and Raymond. George and Raymond were the same age, went to the same school, and started their working lives within a year of each other. Both worked steadily for decades, both earned modest but consistent incomes, both had families, mortgages, and the normal demands of adult life. The difference between them was not income, it was not intelligence. It was one single habit that Raymond developed at 28 and George never did. Raymond automated his retirement savings every month before he spent a single dollar on anything else. A fixed amount moved automatically from his paycheck into his retirement account. He never thought about it. He never decided whether to do it. It just happened, month after month, year after year, for 35 years. George intended to save. He thought about it often. But every month life got in the way. The car needed work. The kids needed something. There was always a reason why this month wasn't the right month, and next month he would get serious. He never did. George is 71 now. He's still working. Not because he loves his job, because he has no choice. His savings are minimal. His Social Security payments cover roughly half his expenses. He cannot stop. Raymond retired at 64. He travels occasionally. He helps his grandchildren. He is not wealthy. He never earned dramatically more than George, but he is free in a way that George is not and will never be. One habit, 35 years, two completely different endings. Here is the specific financial reality that turns retirement from a plan into a fantasy for millions of people. The cost of retirement is dramatically higher than most people estimate. A couple retiring today at 65 needs, by most financial estimates, somewhere between $1.5 and $2 million in savings to maintain a modest lifestyle for 20 to 25 years, accounting for inflation, healthcare costs, and the simple reality that people are living longer than ever before. Most people have a fraction of that. The median retirement savings for Americans in their 50s is approximately $120,000, not $1.2 million. $120,000. At even a modest withdrawal rate, that covers roughly 4 to 5 years of retirement expenses. The math is not complicated, it is just deeply uncomfortable. And the reason most people haven't done it, haven't sat down and calculated what they actually need versus what they actually have, is precisely because the answer is too frightening to look at. But not looking doesn't change the numbers. It just means arriving at retirement unprepared. There are three psychological forces that combine to produce the outcome George is living. The first is optimism bias, the deeply human tendency to believe that things will somehow work out, that the future will take care of itself, that the gap between what exists and what is needed will close on its own. It never does. The second is the planning fallacy, the consistent human tendency to underestimate how much retirement actually costs, how long it will last, and how quickly healthcare expenses and inflation can erode a savings balance that seemed adequate. The third is what psychologists call hyperbolic discounting, the brain's tendency to give dramatically more weight to the present than the future. Saving money today for a retirement 20 years away feels abstract and optional. Spending money today on something real and immediate feels necessary and justified. The brain is not wired for long-term financial planning. It has to be overridden deliberately, systematically, and often. Raymond didn't override his brain with willpower. He removed the decision entirely by automating his savings. The money moved before his brain had a chance to choose otherwise. That single, structural decision, made once at 28, compounded for 35 years into freedom. George relied on willpower and good intentions. They weren't enough. They almost never are. The consequences of working until you die are not just financial. They are physical, emotional, and deeply personal. The human body was not designed to work at full capacity into its 70s. Energy declines. Health issues accumulate. The kind of work most people do in their 50s and 60s becomes harder, not easier, with every passing year. And yet millions of people have no financial alternative. They must keep working regardless of what their body is telling them. There is also the emotional consequence of watching the years you worked your entire life to enjoy pass by in obligation rather than freedom. The grandchildren you wanted to spend time with, the travel you always planned, the rest you earned. All of it deferred indefinitely because the financial foundation was never built. And there is the quiet, private shame of it, the feeling that you should have done something differently, that you should have known, that everyone else figured this out somehow and you didn't. Most people carry this feeling alone in silence without ever fully understanding that what happened to them is not a personal failure. It is a systemic one. Here is what almost nobody says out loud. The system was not designed to make retirement easy. It was designed to make working feel necessary for as long as possible. Employers benefit from a workforce that cannot afford to stop working. Consumer industries benefit from spending patterns that prioritize today over tomorrow. Financial complexity benefits institutions that profit from confusion. And the result is a population that arrives at retirement age without the resources to stop. Not because they failed, but because every force in the system pushed them toward working and spending rather than saving and building. Understanding this doesn't make the problem easier to solve, but it removes the shame. And removing the shame is the first step to actually doing something about it, because the people who escape this outcome, the Raymonds of the world, don't escape it by being better people. They escape it by making different structural decisions early enough for long enough that those decisions compound into freedom. So, what are those structural decisions and what can you still do, regardless of where you are right now? First, automate everything. Follow Raymond's example exactly. Set up automatic contributions to your retirement account that happen before you ever see the money. Remove the decision. Remove the willpower requirement. Make saving the default rather than the intention. Second, do the actual math, not a rough estimate. The actual calculation of what you need to retire, your annual expenses multiplied by the number of years you expect to live, adjusted for inflation and Social Security income. Most people who do this calculation are shocked. Do it anyway. Being shocked now is far better than being shocked at 68 with no time left to respond. Third, eliminate debt aggressively. Every dollar going to interest payments is a dollar that cannot compound for your future. High interest debt in particular is a direct tax on your retirement. Every month you carry it, you are borrowing against the freedom you are trying to build. Fourth, build at least one income source outside your job, even a small one. A few $100s a month from a rental, a dividend account, a part-time side income, any income that continues independently of your full-time employment is a step away from the trap of working until your body gives out. Fifth, start now, regardless of how late it feels. The second best time to plant a tree is today. 10 years of focused, intentional financial action starting at 55 produces results that most people never attempt. The gap between George and Raymond was not talent or income. It was the decision to start and the decision to keep going. George is still working. He will likely work for several more years. Not because he wants to, because the decisions he didn't make in his 30s and 40s made the decision for him. Raymond is at home. He woke up this morning with nowhere he had to be. Both of them worked the same hours. Both of them faced the same obstacles. Both of them wanted the same things. The only difference was one habit started at 28, maintained for 35 years, that compounded quietly in the background while life happened around it. You may not be 28 anymore, but you are not George yet either, not unless you choose to be. The trajectory you are on right now is not fixed. It is a result of decisions, and decisions can be changed. The question is not whether it is too late. The question is whether today is the day you decide it isn't.